All right, all right, all right. Okay, all right, all right. Good luck, Mike. I guess so. Okay, look, folks. Hi, hello, welcome. We have a lot to talk about tonight, and so we're just going to get rolling right into things. I'm not even going to bother introducing myself, letting you know who I am. Quite frankly, I also know that not many of you care. But tonight, we are going to break down. Hell, it's not even going to be a breakdown. It's going to be a beat down discussing these eliminations for the Hambletonian and the Hambletonian Oaks taking place this Saturday, July 27th, at none other than the Meadowlands racetrack in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Things could get, as I said, it's a beatdown. Things could get a little violent tonight. You know, we're all impassioned guys, gamblers with strong opinions about the horses that are racing. And so I think appropriately then, let's introduce the first of our panelists here joining in the discussion. I think the most aggressive and violent of them all. He holds a record of 18-5 in the ring. And those 5, let's be fair, were against guys at least twice his size. He packs quite a punch. His name is Derick Giwner. Mr. Giwner, welcome to the Thunderdome here on this Thursday night.
I feel like I should put a pack of cigarettes in my white T-shirt here, roll it up a little bit so I can bulk up a little for this broadcast.
We will certainly play by schoolyard rules, but we'll play by other rules as well. Hell, we might play by the rules that break those rules. Speaking of someone who likes to break rules, his name is Mike Pribozie. I can't say what rules they are that he breaks, but Mike, we know that you go by your own song. You sing your own too.
Mostly speed limits. I don't know, things like that.
Oh, well, you obviously abide by the speed limits because that's one of our most sacred rules. All right. I can't help you with that now that that's on the record. Speaking of on the record, I'm just going to introduce every panelist by speaking of. I'll speak of him too. When I say John Rallis, he just shows up. And so, well, now he doesn't for some reason because the program is being buggy. But if I say 2 more times, John Rallis, holy crap.
It works.
That's so scary. I think Dean Towers has picked up on that too, except it's just whatever screen he puts on that all of a sudden you're right in front of it.
Yeah, don't give everybody the secrets. Don't give everybody the secrets. I don't want to be showing up at too many places.
And I mean, you can't spread yourself that thin either. It's like you're already at Mohawk, you're already at the Meadowlands, and right there, that's at least like a 2-hour flight and like an hour Uber. That's a lot of conversation to make. And I'm thankful that joining in this conversation is a guy who makes great of it and also is real insightful. He's our horse person expert, I guess, to make it a fully cohesive panel. He's none other than Mr. Thomas Svensen, also joining inside of this discussion for the Hambletonian Eliminations, as well as the Hambletonian Oaks Eliminations. And Thomas, as we've kind of grown to know, as you've joined us here on the show, whenever any of us are trying to find that extra insight about the horses, how they move, their equipment, you're the guy.
Yeah, I've been in the business both as a gambler, trainer, owner, agent, so I feel confident in my opinion. Sometimes it's wrong, but sometimes it's right.
Thomas has the one business card that does not fit inside of the wallet. That's because the titles just keep going farther and farther down. You need like a composition book to hold it in. I also like that I'm the only one, well, Derick too, that is willing to show everyone their living workspace. I guess Mike and John are in the same prison yard that Derick wants to start fighting in on this evening. But we have a lot to talk about. I wasn't kidding when I said we have a lot to talk about. You think 5 races aren't a lot, but when they're Hambletonian Eliminations and Hambletonian Oaks Eliminations, we're going to treat them like a Cat's Deli sandwich. That is, there is a lot of meat to chew down inside of these races. Have any of you been to Cats? I haven't even been to Cats. I just see that the pastrami sandwiches are like stacked this high. Anyone been to Cats? No one?
No.
I don't know. Have I been there?
I
don't know. I was at a deli in Manhattan. I'm not sure if it's Cat's Deli or not.
Well, all right. So with that said, we're going to break down this discussion into two parts. Part one, we're going to be talking Hambletonian Oaks. There's 3 eliminations because it's 23 total dropped in the box. So that's 2 eliminations of 8, 1 elimination of 7. That's going to be part one. Part two, we're going to talk about the duo of Hambletonian eliminations, 10 horses going postward inside of both of those. And then part 3 is where you all go home or go to sleep because you're probably already there. All right, that's the show that we're going to do. Let's get right into the meat of it, going down into the jungle. We're talking about first things first, the first Hambletonian Oaks elimination taking place this Saturday night at the Meadowlands racetrack. It's race number 6. In terms of betting, you can expect in race 6 to start the pick 4, 50-cent minimum, $50,000 guaranteed pool inside of that wager. Covers races 6 through 9. There are going to be some other eliminations spread out along that as well. But I'm going to start here with Thomas because this elimination, I feel, is really pinning the kingmakers or the queensters, I guess, together. You have French Champagne to the inside, who was just so dominant in the Del Miller and was able to rebuff one of the winner book favorites for the Hambletonian Oaks, Soiree Hanover, who this time gets a much better draw inside of this race, moving from the 9 in the Del Miller to the 5 here. It does seem like a race that goes through those two, but Thomas, could someone else maybe sneak in?
I don't think so. I can start a little here. French Champagne. She's been raced with no shoes. She had 4 races in her. Been sneaky good. She doesn't look like one of the horses that we was going to talk about early this year to win the Oaks, but she does her job. Good post, Dexter Dunn, and she is very, very sharp getting into this elimination. We can talk about Soiree Hanover that I know very good because I help and work for Lucas Wallin. First race this year after the qualifier was, okay, minus. She is very heavy, Soiree Hanover. She's going out on her paddock all day on green grass, so she was maybe a little too heavy in the first race. Coming out last time, first up, it's not her melody, not for Manny Wonderful, it is. I think the last 3/8 of a mile she impressed me with having good speed over the finish line and like that. I think she looks more fit. We flexed her today to see if we could find anything to work on before the elimination. She seems much more fit in the body. I think week to week with the elimination, and hopefully our final will be perfect for her. It's the same plan that Lucas Wallin had with Rebuff going into the Hambletonian. And this post here, I think it is perfect for Soiree Hanover. Only 7 horses in the field. She is my favorite in this elimination. I think she will win this elimination, but she can also be second or third. She need to have a trip. And then you have very aggressive horses on the outside who can leave. A Legend. It's been okay. Race sneaky, decent last time. I think Scotty will put her in position. We have 7 Spike Coast. We know what Yannick going to do with her. Guns out. And it's going to be the position. If Soiree Hanover got a helmet, I think she wins. If she need to go first up, she can be beat. Do we have one more horse? Number 2, Chapambro. Little the same with her. Scotty protected her very much last time. And she finished up with the decent trot over the finish line. The same with her. She's not the toughest, not the bravest. She need a helmet. So in the Terry, it is French Champagne, Chapambro, Soiree Hanover, All Agent. And that can win this, right? I don't think Spike House can win.
Well, with that Del Miller, you pointed out an interesting thing that Soiree Hanover did go first over. And I feel like the one key point inside of this race, and others can feel free to jump in on this discussion too, French Champagne was able to get the tactical advantage inside of that Del Miller, was able to get to the lead easily, slow things down, and then sprint away as she needed. And Soiree Hanover had to cut into the sharp end of that mile, so to speak. Do you fear that maybe that could potentially happen again? Because from the pylon post, French Champagne should still be able to push forward and try and control things her way.
I can go a little more. I like to speak, I'm not sure if the rail is perfect for French Champagne. I think Agent and Spike Coast at least going to gun out from the outside. So it depends who's going to retake. I'm not shocked either if Timmy going to be a little aggressive with Sori, and maybe if French Champagne is coming to get the helmet of her after he retake from either Allegiant or Spy Coast. French Champagne, for me, I never go to the window on her because in my opinion, she always get a little overbet, and I'm not super high on her, but she showed me the wrong couple of times.
I'll jump in.
Okay, yeah, jump in there.
I'll jump in here.
Jump in.
I absolutely love Soiree Hanover in this spot. I'm signaling her in my pick 4. I think, to me, she's the best horse in this race by far. I loved her effort last time. She was still kind of getting into her own, as Thomas was saying about her fitness and everything like that. I think there is enough speed to set her up if she wants to come from off the pace. I think Timmy's going to be a little bit more aggressive than we saw last time. I mean, I don't think he's going to gun off the gate, but I think he's going to push away enough to see what's going on. And if there's an early move to be made, he's going to make it and look to secure himself a nice, good post in the final.
One of the other things that popped out to me beyond the top 2 inside of this race, John, is that Scott Zeron had a choice. And I'm kind of surprised about the choice he made because he was listed on Chap Armbro and he was listed on Allegiant. He's taking the beachy horse, Allegiant, who got a ground-saving trip, then didn't get rolling until too late inside of her most recent race and just finished kind of evenly. But I thought Chap Armbro raced okay behind French Champagne. How do you evaluate that type of decision in terms of your handicapping? Because Allegiant, as we're talking about, is probably going to be one of the pace factors inside of this race, can possibly carry her speed all the way. But Chap Armbro, similarly, could just be sitting a ground-saving trip and pop out at the right time. John.
I think John's on mute, so I'll say something.
No, she could. She definitely could, but I thought she got that trip last week, and to be honest, to me, she just didn't have that same level of pop that maybe I was accustomed to seeing from her. She was chasing a pretty big mile last time out when Secret Agent Man went that big mile, and I was expecting her to put forth a big effort last time out, so I'm not really shocked that Zeron went to Allegiant. That's a filly that he was raving about prior to her 3-year-old campaign kicking off. It was an interesting trip last time out, right? I mean, she got away in the 2-hole with Allegiant, and I thought that she was going to retake, but he elected to stay behind the rival, who was the pace setter. I forgot who it was. And then after, I think it was Senorita Palema, I think. And I just thought that maybe he was going to remove because he just got tired late. He never really got real estate with that filly, but I'm not really surprised by the decision at all. I really think that Allegiant right now is probably racing a little bit better at the right time. And Chap Armbro really disappointed me last time. I know she finished 3rd, but I expected to see more when she did angle out.
So then with that in mind, John, it seems like a lot of us are kind of falling into camps of 2, camps of either French Champagne or Soiree Hanover, and the Soiree Hanover camp building a lot more interest just off of the 2 starts she's had this season. Potentially, she won't have to go first over in this race, or maybe if she trips out, has the speed to chase into. Are you kind of also into that camp onto the chalk inside of this race? Or do you think that maybe French Champagne goes off the favorite inside of this race and Soiree could be value?
Yeah, I don't think the rail is going to be an issue, though, for French Champagne. She has drawn it twice in her career, both times at Lexington, and got the job done. So I think that it's a familiar spot for her. She's had success. It's just a matter of how Dex is going to handle her in this race. I think she'll be aggressively handled. She'll be the race favorite. But I think Derick is spot on in terms of, Soiree Hanover needing to be aggressively handled here, right? I don't think you want to run risk of drawing a bad post. We've seen this filly draw a bad post last year in some Marquis Stakes races, and we know that she loves to come off a helmet. I spoke with Lucas Wallen ahead of her debut this year as a 3-year-old, and he basically said that she was going to need that first start. He wasn't really expecting much from her, but she just wanted I think he qualified her once and just wanted to get her into the race. And she was just okay. And she was a lot better last time out. As Thomas said, I think he's just pointing towards this race. But for me, I think those 2 favorites are going to be tough. But I kind of like Paulina Hanover here a little bit. I think that she's a sneaky player in this race. I think she draws well for this contest. I think if things happen, I wouldn't be surprised if she got up there and played the role of upsetter. I'm going to go a little bit of price shopping here. I thought that was a good effort in between a month off, being scratch sick. And I saw some sneaky go on the end of that mile. And it might be a little bit of a step up, but I think she's got more ability than we're giving her credit for.
No surprise, as we just highlighted that one comment from Garnsdale, or as some may know him, Garnett Barnsdale, coincidentally on the side of one of his bosses, Derick Giwner, with Soiree Hanover inside of this first elimination. But I saved Mike for last here purely because He's actually going to give the correct answer out of everybody on this panel inside of this first race. So, Mike, hit him with the truth. How does this sixth race go?
What is the correct answer? I'm curious, especially in an elimination race. My thing is you need to be top 3 here. So there's not going to be any, I think, soft trips. That makes a big difference. I know that Thomas says Spy Coast can't win, but I'm not so sure about that, especially in an elimination. And Yannick, who is an elimination monster, and he definitely likes to win elimination races. And, she's maybe not as classy as a couple of the other ones, but she's come home sub 27 in her last 2 starts. And it is Burke. She could be improving. We're sort of, I know, some of these horses like Soiree Hanover, she was awesome at 2. And yes, she's been perfectly prepped into this for 3, but she still, I think, has to prove it as a 3-year-old. And yeah, her class is there, but again, this is an elimination and the big money is next week. And, we know what happened. Rebuff, he did win his elimination for the Hambo, but what happened in the final there? So, I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. I think French Champagne is probably the sharpest, maybe the best in the race. But again, it's elimination. She draws the rail here. You guys mentioned there's other speed in the race coming outside. I think it's very difficult to figure out how the trip is going to go in this race. What's Yannick going to do from the 7? He's the key to the race to me, because this horse has sat several weeks in a row and now could be blasting from outside. That's going to shake this race up. There's going to be moves. I think it's a very interesting race. It's very good for betting. A lot of the money is going to fall on the 1 and the 5, but I wouldn't sleep on some of the others in here just because of the trips.
You know what, Mike? Just to step in, though, I mean, even last week, I really thought that there was a chance that Spy Coast was maybe going to scratch too. I was really impressed with her effort. If you saw her out there parading, she did not look like the filly that I was accustomed to seeing, start parading out there. She didn't look 100%. That's just to my eye. Then we did see Yannick go back to the paddock with his filly for a few minutes, and she came out and didn't get away as well as maybe we all expected her to get away, being the race favorite, drawing well, but she put forth a pretty good effort on the end of it. So I'm not sure if maybe she wasn't at her best that time, but certainly wasn't driven like a filly who was the race favorite, who drew the kind of post that she did last time out. But she raced exceptionally well, but I'd be keeping an eye on her physical appearance in parade.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen what we're going to get from Spy Coast already. I feel like we've seen what Spy Coast's top is, whereas I don't think we've seen what the top of some of the other ones are. And I just can't possibly back Spy Coast. I just don't see the improvement coming.
You're not leaving any room, because that race that she's coming in off was off a month layoff. You're not leaving any
she's
room.
The key to the race.
But it's like you said, Mike, with Yannick in the elimination. We know what he did with your favorite horse, Point of Perfect. So,
and he sat on the audience broadcast and said Point of Perfect would win the elimination, and he did. So
I wouldn't be shocked if Yannick come to the lead and nobody wants to, like Timmy don't want to move, or Dexter going to protect French Champagne, and then you have Yannick walking up to 56 and 4 to the half, and it could happen. But
remember, only the top 3 are making it here for sure.
And it's a 7-horse field.
Yeah, you don't want to take too many chances here. I mean, it's not going to be that you end up coming away, 6th or 7th, and they get away soft in the half. You're not making the final. I don't care which horse you are.
The thing is, we all can't sing the same song on here. Like there has to be different scenarios and different opinions, with some of this. And this, I think, is a possibility, especially with Yannick, given the way, that he's known to drive in eliminations. And, it is a Burke horse that has been known to have speed. Now, like John said, maybe she didn't look great last week. Well, check her on the racetrack. If she looks much better, I would be far more interested to bet her, and you're going to get a better price.
I'd raise the main caveat, though, with her speed is that she hasn't proven herself inside of a 27-second-ish first quarter. You look down her page, she's showing that speed, softer types of races, and otherwise is just making quarter moves coming into the race that way. So this is a race that very well, as Superman Bass Fisher said, is probably going to be kind of aggressive off of the gate. But in 7-horse fields, how often are we seeing, too, that the action is just in the first quarter, then settles to the half, then movement starts coming to the 3 quarters, and then it's still a sprint to the finish? I feel like, if anything, and my stance is the price of the race is probably Allegiant. And that's a horse you probably want to use inside of the gimmicks, either on top of exotics or definitely underneath exotics, because she's got the speed to go forward. She's going to be sitting close. Hell, Chip Armbro is going to be sitting close too. But you have, no matter what, two horses that would be absolute shocks to not make the final. French Champagne, because she has that pylon post, and you know Dex is going to go and protect that position. And Soiree Hanover, who still has sneaky gate speed. She was able to leave pretty well from post 9, and Timmy was just taking her back, trying to float for a much better position versus having to use all of his horse up to the first quarter. So this is a race where very well you're going to see that kind of tactics in play. I feel Allegiant much stronger use speed in the speed argument than Spy Coast. But that's my stance. Any final thoughts inside of this first elimination before we move on to the second? Anyone or else?
Well, only thing I'll say is we saw what Spy Coast did the one time when she was used a little bit hard in that final, and unfortunately she faltered late. So she's a filly who literally was dominating in those races earlier on this year. But that's because nobody was really challenging her. She was getting everything her own way, and the time that she was asked to maybe pick it up a little bit, and the race got a little bit faster, she wasn't able to respond well. So I think, as Derick mentioned, I think we have really seen what she is. She needs things to work out in her favor. And she raced great last week. I won't take anything away from her, but I just don't think she's a filly who can be used. This isn't your typical elimination format. Top 5 make it out of a 10-horse field. Like everyone knows, top 3 make it. So there's going to be some racing. I don't think her racing out for the lead, racing hard early is going to bode well for her. I think she's going to need a trip for things to set up for her. And I just don't know if she can sprint with some of the best of them here.
The final word inside of this first elimination actually is going to go to Superman Bass Fisher, who is simply agreeing with John that Paulina Hanover is going to be tough. John, at least one other person agrees with you on that. And not to say that could be wrong. It's just that could say you're probably going to get an okay price on her inside of that elimination.
Yep.
All right, so that's elimination 1 for the Hambletonian Oaks. The second Oaks elimination is the 8th race on the Saturday night card. This another deep field of 8. We have, last year's Breeders' Crown winner. I feel like a Breeders' Crown winner that's kind of, lost in the fog. I think many people forget Warwi Michelle is a Breeders' Crown champion. She's coming in off of back-to-back iffy efforts, but she could definitely move forward and here buy a round. A real nice one for Noel Daly's coming real primed into this spot with a great draw. How about Alista Hanover? 9 straight wins, draws post 4 in this race. You have cool Papa Bells, full sister, half sister, cool Ma Bell drawing into this race. And of course, Peaceful Way champion, Drawn Impression in post 7, 8 horses inside of here. Lots of hard hitters, but John, a lot of eyes, of course, going to be on Alista Hanover for that long win streak coming into the race. And you and I were actually kind of chatting about this earlier today because we both had nothing better to do. But what's interesting with her as the 6-5 morning line favorite is she's not coming from your typical path. She's been racing in some sire stakes, then in the Tompkins gears, some of these lower level Grand Circuit events. And now she's coming into the big class test today as the heavy morning line favorite. Are you a believer, John, or do you think that her presence opens the door for better payoffs elsewhere?
Well, of course, it opens the door for better payoffs, and I think she's going to go off as the race favorite. She's done nothing wrong. You can't really fault her for who she's taken on, and I think that there might be some talk that she hasn't taken on some of the best fillies, and they're not that deep in terms of competition, but she's answered every call so far this year. She's looked shut down in almost every single one of those efforts. I mean, Dave he's moving her late in the mile sometimes and just toying with the competition he's faced. And she's coming into this effort super sharp right now. She's going to be the one to beat, and she's proven to be handy. She can do it any which way. But for me, I just elected to go price shopping here. Like you said, she's going to take a lot of support because of what she's done. Her resume speaks for herself. But I do think there are some really talented fillies in this race, right? I don't think we can discount Noel Daly's filly by a round. I know he spoke about the white blood count being a little bit short. Needless to say, we all thought that she should have got the job done. When she was on Armelina's back last time out, I thought she was going to jog. I think everybody thought the same. We just know that this is a really talented filly, and she came up short. But for me, I don't know if anybody else is in agreement. I really think Drawn Impression. I thought highly of her last year. I said after her win in the Peaceful Way that she was probably the best filly in North America, the best trotting filly, and things just didn't kind of work out the rest of the year. I know there was she battled some sickness leading up to that Mohawk Million, unfortunately, and she made a miscue off the gate as one of the race favorites, and she never raced well in the Breeders' Crown elimination, but should have got it done in the final after that trip. And then her races so far, to me, start number 1 was a prep. Things didn't work out in this way. Just used a little bit too hard. You could see Louis trying to get a hole in that race, and there was just all the holes were closed, and he said, I got to drive on. I've got no other choice. And the fractions were a little bit too tough. Again, second race of the year for her. She's just more accustomed to chasing rather than doing the heavy lifting on the lead. And I think the qualifier was a perfect tightener for this race. And Luke Blake just tends to get horses ready for these types of events. When it's a stakes event, you can count on them being ready. I thought if you watch the qualifier, never angled off of a Private Access's helmet, who we're going to see in the Hambletonian eliminations as well. And Louis kept her brave. Now they're going with a driver change. Now they're going to opt to go to James McDonald here. So he's going to be sitting behind this filly for the first time. But we know she's handy enough to lead from post 7. She's got wicked gate speed. And if she shows a glimpse of what we saw from her as a 2-year-old, I really think that she could, I wouldn't be surprised here in the winner's circle. I think just on raw talent alone, I think she's the best in here.
Oh, well, I'm imagining, that this is something that's probably going to get Mike a little energetic because, for one, lofty claim, drawn impression, best horse in the race. I know Mike has opinions on that. But on top of that, Mike, similar question to you inside of this race. Alista Hanover, this is really a race where you're either going to believe the favorite or you're going to go do something else.
Well, she has to prove it for sure, but her kicks are very sweet. I mean, 26-2, 26-3, her last 2. I think she likes the big track. This is a class test. There's no question about it that, she has to step up. But I mean, last year she was 3rd in the Breeders' Crown final. So it's not like that. I'm sorry. That's, I was looking at something bad, but Alista, her kicks, like I said, are very good. 26-2, 26-3, her last 2. It's definitely a class test, but 9 wins in a row, you can't fault that whatsoever, I don't think. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know what the plan is here to keep the winning streak going. I'd imagine that they're obviously looking to make the final. She's going to come from off of it. John said, though, that like John impression, she has wicked gate speed, but she's never exactly showed that in any of her races. She's always been one to sit really and not go early. So I'm not sure where that you saw that from, John.
No, she has gate speed if she wants. She can float out of there from post 7. It's not like she's going to get away.
But she's never showed that in any race whatsoever that I've seen. I mean, so it's not exactly like that she's blasting off the gate, and James McDonald's not exactly a guy that blasts horses away from the gate either. So I'm not sure what kind of trip she's going to get in the race. Do you think that she can outkick Alista Hanover? Maybe. I don't know. But can she outkick by a round too? That's another one that has a big kick. I don't know what kind of trip that John Impression gets. That's my problem with her in the race. So I'm just, I don't really know what's going to happen there. I do believe she's talented. I liked her a lot last year. I just don't know what kind of trip she gets. I like Honey Sweet a little bit. I do think that, again, she's going to be tested for class in here, but she's got plenty of speed. She showed speed in her last start. Now you get Dexter Dunn. She's going to get lost on the board in here. The 7's going to take money. The 4 obviously is going to take money. The 3 is going to take money. And I would say the 1, Warming Rochelle, is going to definitely take money in the race. So that's a horse that's going to get lost that could end up with a trip in this race. And certainly, again, a horse that probably has to be faster to beat these horses, but is an interesting, I think, long shot type horse in the race.
Derick, your thoughts inside of this one, because it seems like we're going all over the place in just an 8-horse field.
Well, I wouldn't bet Honey Sweet with your money.
Well, you always disagree with that. You wouldn't bet Charlie May either, and what happened there?
I picked him last time, I think. No Lasix for Honey Sweet. That's worth noting. I think I don't know how much Lasix the horse is getting, but that's. I will not have Alista Hanover on any of my tickets as far as the win end goes.
Why?
What?
One of my pick 4 tickets, nothing, 0. I'm completely tossing her out.
Why?
If I'm going to bet on a horse that's going to be the favorite, right, I need some sort of proof that she's better than the other horses.
Those
and I
haven't
seen the proof yet. She's beaten no one. Kinesiology,
it's good science.
Spy Coast.
Spy Coast. I mean, she's beaten horses that I just don't respect as this kind of class of horse, the Hambletonian Oaks class. So she might very well be the best horse in the race. I have no idea. But I'm certainly not going to bet her as the favorite to find out. So she won't be on any of my tickets. I like Drawn Impression a lot. Everything John said, I agree with. Maybe not she's the best horse in the race because I don't know if she's the best in the race. But everything else he said about her lead-up races, I would argue, you said what kind of trip she's going to get. I look at this race and I say, well, who in this race has a ton of early speed? Show me the horse in this race you feel confident is just going to gun down the road. There really are none. By Around doesn't really like to leave. Warwick Michelle hasn't done it yet, though I expect she'll be a lot better this week. Tandem Hanover breaks more than leaves. Maybe draw the line because it's Yannick and Burke, and of course they're going to leave. But Cool Ma Bell, she can barely get out of her own way. I mean, to me, Drawn Impression doesn't have to leave that hard to make the front yet. So I like
doesn't
Drawn
the 8
Impression.
leave then? Doesn't the 8 show early speed and can blast off from the outside post?
If she doesn't break.
If she doesn't break, if the no Lasix doesn't affect her, there's a lot of question marks as far as I'm concerned with the 8. And granted, at least you're going to get a good price. So, I mean, I can't fault you for taking, a horse that's going to be a big price. I thought Buy Around was bad last time. We've already mentioned, John mentioned that should have went by, didn't, was something wrong? I don't know. I respect Buy Around a lot. I respect the fact that Warrior Michelle will probably throw in a much better race this week. I didn't expect anything from her last time. But so I'll probably have like Warrior Michelle, Buy Around, and Drawn Impression on my tickets. Then Drawn Impression will have the most play. I will have no play on Elisa.
Before I get to Thomas, I'm extra curious with all of the Drawn Impression fans right now. What is a fair price in your mind on her inside of this race?
3-1 or 7-2. I would take that
from that spot.
If I can get 3-1 or higher, I would bet it. If it's less than 3-1, no, I'm off. It's too low.
I think you probably need double that. Really, you might. I mean, it depends on what the money that Alista takes. That's the key, really.
Listen, who's betting? Listen, the way I look at this is who's betting on the race. If there's a whole bunch of $2 bettors betting on the race, the Alista Hanover is going to be 1-9. Because they're going to look at all those ones and they're going to jump on board. I think, people who dig a little bit deeper are less likely to go with an Alista Hanover. So it really depends on where all the money's coming from and who's doing the betting. Because I could see Alista Hanover being 1-5, and I could see Alista Hanover being 2-1, depending on who's playing.
Well, if the people who handicap off the binary are playing, then certainly they're going to probably be on all the ones on Alista Hanover's page. But Thomas, my thing when I was watching Alista Hanover was, on one hand, I didn't think she really moved super smoothly in that Tompkins gears. But at the same time, she was moving almost like she was just wanting to go more than David was letting her. And what really caught my eye was how she was able to quicken and spurt away from horses that might be, leagues below what would be Hambletonian Oaks class. But I'm kind of curious, what are your thoughts on a horse like Alista Hanover inside of a race like this, especially as a probable chalk?
If we go back the 2 last races at Meadowlands, she didn't beat anything 29 of June when she beat Spy Coast and those guys. But last time, it's not like I'm going to say that she beat any horses. Some Poli Girl was in the lead. But David, they walked to the half in 57 and in 3. And the other horses in that race looked like 5 claimers when she come. And she had a plugs left. That is I don't going to say first time I've been impressed, but she was wrapped up. And I ranked her 5th, I think, for a week ago or 10 days ago. And after that, I was like, I have her too low because I want to have her higher up, because she impressed me last time. But I understand the discussion. Okay, Miss LA was second. That she haven't beat anything. And if we go against the other horses, her gait is not smooth, like you said, either way with the Lista, but she get going and like that, and she can keep the speed better than more than the others, and she is tough. She can go first up. Not many of the other. If you take Sorry Hanover and you take Buy Around, who is maybe the 2 first horses early this year, they need more a trip to work out for them. So, but if we take Warwick Michelle, that is the horse I'm most disappointed this year on, especially when it comes from Aki. Normally, he always have them ready when they get back after a good 2-year season. She had a throat surgery or a minor throat surgery for 8-10 days ago. It's not perfect to go into Oaks with that, but I've seen it before, and it can help. Post 1, if she is little better, she is definitely up there, but it's not like I'm gonna go to the window when I know she had been having problem with breathing and getting air. Tandem Hanover, she is aggressive. She make the break always on the same spot. If you don't make the break behind the gate, buy around. Go back to 29th of June. I was impressed. Was my first sight, but then I saw she only kicked home 27-4. She didn't beat any horses, and she won easy. But it was like when I had the stopwatch on her, I was like, okay, it was looked better than it was. And then last time, I think Armelina is super good. So, but I also expected her to jog from a helmet. But 51-1, she need to have a trip. She definitely can win this race. Drawn Impression. It's the same for me, like for John and Derick. I am also on that bandwagon. I loved her last year. I love the pedigree. Emoticon Hanover, one of my favorite fillies. And like you guys said, if he is little aggressive, James, she can be the horse in the front, because by around it's not going to move. Warwick Michelle is not going to run. It depends what David going to do with the Elista Hanover. Honey Sweet, it's not going to be on my ticket. And I don't gonna bet her with Mike's money either. I'm not high on her. I don't gonna say she can win the elimination, but wait till she get a good spot in a regular race. Cool Mabel. I'm waiting on Cool Mabel in a regular race. Then I'm gonna go to the window, because look at that last 3/8 of a mile last time. It was sneaky good on Cool Mabel, but she's too. She struggled too much behind the gate in the first quarter. So for me, on the I'm gonna go a little against Derick too. I'm gonna have a list on my pick 4. You know, guys, I'm hard on the pick 4, but by around the list, I've drawn Impression. I'm gonna see how Warwick Michelle warm up, or if Ake slow hard down and stuff like that. Then maybe I'll toss her on the ticket. But for me, it's 4 horses.
I kind of like that Derick's tossing though, Elista off the ticket. It's not like she can very well win, but you've got 2 other fillies in there who legitimately have good shots, right? Like buy around and drawn Impression. So I have no issue throwing out a horse that's going to be on majority of people's tickets. It's either you go with her or you go against her, and there's no point of going 3 deep and unless you like long shots the rest of the sequence or whatnot. But I think that there's 2 legitimate shots to win that race. And I like the idea of throwing Elista Hanover out of the multis. If she beats you, she beats you. There's no denying the talent, but this is also a gambling game from a value standpoint. And I think there's 2 fillies who have equal opportunity, in my opinion, to win, who have just as much talent and are going to be better value across multi-leg wagers and in the vertical pool. So,
are we allowed to like long shots here? Because every time you like one, you get your ass ripped apart. So it's like, I don't know. Like I don't know what's going on here.
Nobody ever approves on the long shots you like for whatever reason. I can't tell you why.
It's okay, Mike.
Just come up with the wrong ones. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, not always. I mean, not always.
I think there's proof of him being in a winner's circle photo somewhere.
Yeah, he took the picture.
Charlemagne.
I was gonna say I'm shocked how many of you.
There's been others. I mean,
listen. I was with him. I was with him for ammo at 50-something to 1. That's gonna. We have to bring that.
Everyone laughed at me about ammo too. Yeah.
I didn't laugh at you about ammo. But look, I was just shocked. So many of you would just not want to touch Mike's money at all. I would gladly bet Honey Sweet with Mike's money, but that's just so I could take the ticket to the machine and cash it out and then have the money for my pocket.
It's all the more sweet for him. It's all the more sweet for him if the horse wins, right?
Yeah. But just think about it. We've seen it before. Yannick in elimination, guns out, come to the lead, get too much respect, and
I just don't think she's got the raw speed to go.
No, I think there's a bigger chance that you're going to make a break than she's in the front. So.
And Dunn is on the horse. Yannick is driving, draw the line. Another speed side of this race. But no, this really is especially in terms of the multis. This is a fork in the road race, because you have 3 horses that are going to take a ton of money and buy around Elista Hanover and Drawn Impression. And so you can't just spread on 3 chalks, because all you're doing is killing your bankroll and killing whatever value you get. Certainly you can make arguments that Elista Hanover potentially can meet this ever higher ceiling that keeps going up and up from her win streak. But I'm kind of in the camp of you guys too. You might get a better price on buy around inside of a race like this. With this kind of draw, I don't see her taking back. She has enough speed to at least float out to get away in the middle of the pack, and she's one of the best closers inside of this race. Honestly, my main concern is that Ake doesn't get to steal the race. Of anyone who I am terrified of getting to the lead, if I'm betting other horses, it's Ake, because he's one of the best to rate the mile And Warwi Michelle is the type that, since she hasn't gone to the lead because, she's had some issues and bad draws and stuff like that, maybe she wakes up when she's put into play, and she's going to be a big price inside of this race. So certainly that is on my radar. We highlighted one comment. I want to touch these real quick, and then Thomas, share your thought. I don't know if Jody Jamieson is in the Hambletonian, but I'm sure if anyone watching is training a horse that needs a driver, I guess you could call him, because that's how easily this game works. But he's not listed on anyone inside of the eliminations. And I want to mention that one Joey Tybalt is on board with you, Thomas, in terms of the Lisa Hanover argument. She has not been asked when beating no one. So it really does seem like sky's the limit on her. But what were you going to say, Thomas?
Don't give Aki too much credit that he get to rate the mile at Meadowlands. They know if they come, he parked them. So.
Well, but those mind games go a long way. I mean, that messed up at least 2 of my past relationships, so I can understand.
If you guys have seen Aki in Sweden before he come to the US, he was one of the best drivers on a 5/8 track, and he can still outdrive everybody on Poconos and stuff like that. But at Meadowlands, no thanks.
Well, we'll see. We'll see which side of the bed Ak wakes up on in the morning, if he's going to be extra aggressive or maybe a little charitable. Any other final thoughts inside of the second elimination before we move on to the third?
We're at 42 minutes and we've looked at 2
This
races.
is good. This is good. This is what it's supposed to be. Honestly, more of us have black eyes. We should have bruises. This should get much harsher than it already has been. This has been civil, all things considered, for a handicapping and gambling discussion. I imagine all hell is going to break loose, though, inside of the 10th race. Final elimination of the Hambletonian Oaks we're going to talk about. In my mind, and I guess I'll open the floor, whoever wants to jump in, I think this is the weaker of the eliminations. That's a lofty claim, but anyone in disagreement on that?
I'll disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I disagree only because I think that in my opinion, the best horse going in is in this race, and that's Date Night Hanover.
Okay.
I think if I was doing a Hamble Oaks top 10, she'd be number 1 for me. So that alone makes this not the weakest division.
Oh, all right. But in sense of competition then, Derick, because I'm in agreement with you, Date Night Hanover looks great inside of this race, but in my mind, it looks like a walk for her.
Yeah, I think it is, in my opinion. I don't know what her morning line is. I don't handicap with morning lines, but to me, I think she's 3 to 5, and I think she wins the race. That's what I see on paper. There's not a horse in this race I'm scared of. If she behaves, she does what she's supposed to do, I think she wins.
Well, since John has made the morning line, I imagine I should give him the next word on this. Are you of agreement that this horse you made the favorite is probably the one inside of this elimination?
Yeah, I think it's a 2-horse elimination. I think Armelina definitely deserves some respect. I think that hopefully Dexter can work out. He doesn't have post 9 with Date Night Hanover, but I'm in agreement with Derick. I was so impressed with her qualifier, leading up to her 3-year-old campaign. And unfortunately, she's just been coupled with like some poor draws, and racing over at Yonkers didn't really work out for her. She's just a big track filly, and she draws well here. I just don't know where she's going to get away from the 5-hole. Hopefully Dex can show some early speed, but you don't want to discount Armelina, obviously, even from the outside. I think she's just better suited when she draws further off the gate. We know that things get a little bit dicey when she does draw inside, consecutive breaks from the rail. It's really going to be interesting, though, if she does win the elim. I mean, you draw between 1 and 6, but I mean, the 1 wouldn't be a positive for Armelina if she were to win the elimination. I do think that, if you win an elimination, I think that either you get to choose your post probably would be a little bit better, because at least there's even an added reward. I do think that maybe it should be 2 to 6, in my opinion, because the rail is not an ideal spot for anybody anyways. I wouldn't call it an advantage per se. You'd almost rather draw post 7 sometimes as opposed to the rail, depending on the circumstance. But I do think that Date Night Hanover, that effort was really good. I don't think she'll be as far back as she was last time by virtue of where she draws. And I'm with Derick. I'm just going to keep it short. I think she's the one to beat here, and I'm probably going to single her in multis.
All right, 2 chalks touted. Mike, correct them for us. Give us the key price inside of this race.
Well, I don't know. I don't have any real huge price.
What? Oh, now you don't?
Well, I don't know. I'm sorry. I have to go back into the hole here. I think that that Date Night Hanover is the best horse and has the best kick. Only 1 for 6 this year, though, and like Derick said, probably is going to be sub-even money in this race. But there's not a lot of other horses to cling to. I mean, I guess you could try Emoji Hanover for Blay, but That one is actually fairly interesting, given only 3 starts this year, 2 wins. Now gets the big track, has a little bit of class to her. I think that she could maybe step up if she, that's what she needs to improve to win here. But she could be an alternative to Date Night Hanover. Armelina and Miss Isla have been sort of knocking heads all year, and I don't know. I think that Armelina is a little bit better on the big track, but I don't know what she does from this post. I don't know what the plan will be here. So, and ultimately, I do think Date Night Hanover tracks them all down anyway. So it's, this isn't a good race for long shots from my standpoint.
Now, Thomas, I'm gonna give you my observation, and you tell me how you see it differently. Because if I remember correctly, you're high on Armelina inside of this race. You said I'm correct in saying that, right? You like her? You don't like her?
Yeah, I like her as a horse, but
okay.
I think Date Night Hanover wins.
Okay, well, then this isn't really that much of. This is not going to be like a fun argument if we're all in agreement like this, because.
But Date Night have been my favorite since when I come up with the list on Twitter, and I go back to Vern first time with no shoes. She was flying home. Last time she raced with shoes, and go back and look at it. 26 last quarter, but have a watch on her the last. 1-8 before that too. I think I had the 30, almost 39 seconds on the last 3/8 of a mile on Date Night Hanover. She was flying home. Not many horses do that at Meadowlands now when they are going so fast in the end. It was insane, and that was with shoes. I seen her train. She is at Melander. We're going to see on Saturday, but the rumors is that she's going to race with no shoes in the elimination also. So Date Night Hanover, do it easy. I think she is the best horse. She's going to win. I like Armelina. But post. But for me, I need to go on Date Night as a single.
See, Mike, you're saying those first 2 eliminations were taking so long, but we're going to get through this third one in like 5-ish minutes because I have nothing else to offer. I mean, you go and watch. I mean, sure, Date Night Hanover was set up inside of that Zweig. She just had a nice clip to chase into, was coming after tired horses, but Dex was drawing away under wraps. She very clearly is a good horse, and she gets a great draw inside of a race where she's not really going to have too much competition in my eyes. I feel Armelina is a good horse if she can make her move in the slower part of the race. If she can get to the lead when everyone else is backing down, she has enough speed to carry herself into the mix. Otherwise, she risks getting into these tough spots. At least that's how she was as a 2-year-old. She kind of seems still like that as a 3-year-old, but still can go somewhat fast speeds. But I hope is a takeout reducer inside of this race from all the way out there. I'm kind of interested to see, though, too, how Senorita Polima comes into this race, because I was shocked that Tim got the lead so easily and didn't give her a breather at all. So she reasonably tired inside of that race and finished 5th. But if Ak can at least get her forward and just give her a little bit of cushion, then she probably is going to be okay for the underneath spots at a price. But that's all I have to offer on this elimination. Anyone else have anything else to say? Do you have any cold exactas with Date Night Hanover on top?
I don't know about a cold exacta, Ray, but a horse in this race that I like, I don't know that she's not this class probably, but I think it's interesting that Chapeloni is adding trotting hobbles here. I think this horse has some ability. I don't know if she has this kind of ability, but if the trotting hobbles help her, I think she has a little bit of talent there.
I agree. I agree with Derick too, and I do think that just conversation that I've had with Annie Stobie on a couple of interviews over at the Meadowlands, she did kind of talk about how when it's go time, when the big races come up, she does like to pull the shoes for this filly. And she's actually been pretty unlucky, though. She's got jammed up a couple starts back with Dave Miller. She made a miscue last time out. So I'd watch for a shoeing change to see if she does race without shoes that night. And let's see how the trotting hopples fare. But I agree. That's a filly that I would definitely use underneath in some exotics, especially with the draw. And I'm intrigued to see how Andy McCarthy gets along with her.
All right. No more discussion of that third elimination. That ceases part 1 of this roundtable discussion. So Hambletonian Oaks, if you're just joining us, sorry, we don't have time to go over it all again because it took us 50 minutes to get through those 3 races. We have to move forward to part 2. Hambletonian Eliminations. There's 2 of them, 10 horses going postward in both of those eliminations. Before we get to that, a reminder for everybody that this discussion continues, not just, well, we're going to talk about these eliminations, but don't forget, we'll be back next week for the finals, another roundtable here on In the Money Media for the 2024 Hambletonian. Not only will we be talking about the marquee race of not only the harness racing season, but of the entire history of harness racing in North America, as well as, the undercard stakes. We got what was the Sam McKee Memorial. We have the John Cashman. It's a day where every great horse comes to make big money, and a bunch of kids in their 20s come to drink a lot of beer. It's a great day, and there'll be 6 of us talking about those races. That will be next week here.
Why does Edison look like
Media.
he's seen a ghost or something in this photo? Like, he had nothing else to put up for him?
I mean, you haven't talked to Edison much recently. He's been quite haunted by certain things, but it's not for me to talk about. That's his life to put out there. But I've seen some of the things he's seen too, and I sometimes, it's scary. It's scary. But Hambletonian Eliminations. First elimination is race number. You guys don't know?
9.
It's race number 9. Yeah, it's race number 9. It's the first, and it has the horse that everyone thought would be first inside of this race, Carl. But God forbid you lose one race, all of a sudden, then the ship is sinking, and everyone thinks it's time to jump off board. But still, in that Stanley Dancer, as I've talked with many people about too, he had a tough post. He went a long ways forward, was basically going full speed for about the first half mile of the race, and still was able to go 50-2 to lose inside of that race. A noble effort for losing, if I do say so myself. But this is the first question, and you guys are going to have to jump for it. I'm not going to throw this one to anyone. It's going to be for the most cutthroat of opinions. How do we feel about Carl inside of this race? Are we forgiving him, or are we sending him to exile and jumping onto another horse inside of this race? Anybody?
How did you not forgive him?
Bet against him.
I don't
How
know.
are you going to bet him?
Derick, I mean, I grew up learning to turn the other cheek, but there are some people, they love to hold things over me.
I think that race was perfect for him. I think it was the ideal. Well, the ideal circumstances you win, but to me, I think finding out what the horse's bottom is, letting him empty the tank a little bit. I think that was actually good for him. I think it was good for Yannick too. I mean, better for it to happen in the Stanley Dancer for Yannick than to happen in the Hambo final. Let's see what you have in this horse. Now you know the horse a little bit better, and you could do a little bit more. I struggled with this race a lot. I wanted to, find a way to pick Highland Kismet to beat Carl. I really did. I wanted to, and I can't figure out the trip that he's going to work out, that it's going to, work out in his favor. I mean, I'm going to use him on my tickets. I'm going to use both horses, Highland Kismet and Carl, but I just think Carl's the better horse. I just can't get away from that.
I imagine your qualm with Highland Kismet is specifically how does he get into the race? Because Carl very clearly is going to be forward, and Kismet also very clearly struggles to go forward, at least in the early parts of the race.
Yeah, if let's say Carl is used hard and he comes home in 27, then Highland Kismet's going to have to come home like 26 to beat him. I don't know if is it possible? Yeah, I guess it's possible, but I don't see Carl having to be used that hard. I think Situationship's going to gun out like a rocket ship. I think Yannick will be much more forwardly placed than he was last time in the Dancer. I think he'll let Oki go to the front. He'll move his horse to the front, and then, I don't see a ton of movement coming after that. I think there are horses that are going to have to move if they want their chance to get in there. Remember, it's top 5, not top 3. So that makes a huge difference here, and it's much easier to pass one late in a 10-horse field when you only have to be top 5.
I similarly spent a decent amount of time looking at this race, not because, I struggle to think and stuff like that. I, in fact, think so much that it took me longer to think through all of those thoughts. But Thomas, we're going to talk about this in the second elimination too. When we're talking about how the race is going to set up and the speed that's going to unfold, especially in the early stages, I can't think of a bigger monkey wrench to throw into any type of map than giving Ox Fenstead the 10-hole inside of both eliminations. And in this one especially, like Derick said, Situationship more likely than not going to try and go forward. Do you think that those tactics kind of change how things could set up early for not only Carl, but maybe others?
Sure, because, Aki going to pull the shoes in situationship and gun out from the 10 hole. So I'm the only guy who don't have situationship. I think of a couple of handicappers that I don't have it on my top 10. I'm not high on him. I think he's a New York horse. But, post 10, Aki, I don't hope he's going to interfere some of the other on the insides. That's my issue with it. So for me, I'm not off the call bandwagon. 55 to the half last time, and he was like 4 or 5 wide in the first turn, and Yannick drove him like he was like he was the freak everybody expected him. He won 150, got beat. This time I think he's gonna be up close, gonna be like Yannick to the I think this is more like a Yannick elimination. Come to the lead. I think we can have little. He's gonna get a breather, and I think Carl just win, because the horses I like without of Carl, I'm very high on Caballero. I think Caballero is one of the better horses. He struggled it on the last turn. Go in and see the last race there. He would won that race easy if he didn't struggle on the last turn. Scott Saron, I already texted him. He need a gating pole on the inside on the last turn, that horse there. That horse I'm high on. 6 hours, they changed the shoe. He was a different horse compared to the other races. He got a little injured last year. That's why they shut him down in Kentucky. Beautiful. He had so much horse in the 6 hour post. Yeah, security protected, not Derick's favorite horse. I go in and see last time. Sneaky had the plugs left, had pull down bridle left. If he had a little luck there, he would be very, very close security protected. I don't going to say going to win the elimination, but for the horse people who are going to chase the beat call. Highland Kismet, what happened there? Was he just like a 2-year coming to a new track? Didn't want to go behind the gate? Did Bobby just baby him? I've been high on him up in Woodbine. I know I talked about him one of the first races I saw up there with some friends, and he kicked home good. But was it a super good last quarter? Because that you do Indiana horse, he was close to him too. So everybody was kicking home there on the home stretch. So yeah. I think it is just Yannick's race. I think we're going to see a soft, at least middle half. And for me, I'm all in on Carl on my multis.
I feel like, Mike, if you were of the opinion that Point of Perfect was going to do well in the eliminations last year, seeing how the race unfolded, and also even similarly how Celebrity Bambino won in his elimination too for Gingran Burke to sweep in last year's. You have to be on Carl. He's going to get the same type of trip, and he's Carl. He's not Point of Perfect, and no one's going to be Point of Perfect, but he's Carl.
I don't know what's best here though. For if Carl wins this elimination in a jog, and then the real race next week, and maybe gets roughed up again. I do agree with Thomas that he's going to go. I don't know. I think it's worth taking a shot with Sig Sauer. I know he got a perfect setup last time, but I mean, he's won 5 times in 7 starts. He kicked 26-1 last week. I know he's 68-1, but Carl was 1-50 in the race. So it doesn't really, the price doesn't really bother me. He's third back. He's obviously ready to roll here. I think you could, especially if Carl, who's probably 3-5 in the race here, maybe 2-5. He's not going to be 68-1 again, but he's probably 12-15-1 in the race. I mean, especially with situationship in here. So I would be interested in him. I don't know if he's good enough to beat Carl if Carl gets his trip, but Carl doesn't get his trip. I think I want him again. And I don't know, he could be the one that could be improving the most heading into next week. I'm hoping that maybe he's a little sneaky in this elimination so we can bet him next week for the final, because it'd be a big price. And, you say Carl's going to get the trip, but what happens with situationship from the outside post? That's the key to the race. What does he do? And that's going to determine, I think the result here.
John,
I'm on the camp that you have to bet against Carl simply because.
Wait, John, can you repeat that 1 second? Can you repeat what you just said?
You have to bet against Carl, I think.
What?
Well,
You'd have to?
he's gonna be favored in a race where he showed a little bit of vulnerability, and yeah, he can bounce back from it. But this is a good group. It's not like he's facing an easy group, and he's been great all year. He's been great throughout his career. I worry a little bit about him a little bit too. I mean, I know he doesn't take the turns so well, but Yannick does baby him around the turns, and I don't think he's going to get a breather like everybody expects him to be. I think there's a lot of horses that are going to be who really feel like they might have a shot to win now that Carl showed a little bit of vulnerability. And you guys aren't off the Carl bandwagon. I'm not off the Highland Kismet bandwagon. I think that he could put forth a big effort.
Wait, John, can you say that for me one more time?
Enough of that. I'm on the Highland Kismet Kismet bandwagon. I really am. I think he's going to bounce back. I think a lot of questions were happening. Was it Bobby? Was it the horse? Was it the track? I think it was a little bit of everything, right? I think the horse needed. Listen, he's only had 6-7 career starts before that race at the Meadowlands. I think there was a lot going on. I also think that Bobby spoke about it too at Mohawk when he was live wired. He said that probably should have had the horse a little bit closer. The horse does gap the gate, but he was a little bit further away than he wanted to be. And I don't think Mark Etzel and his connections wanted him to be that far out. It just didn't work out, but he wasn't, it's a new track surface. He wasn't really like grabbing the track as well, maybe as they maybe had hoped for. They got to start to get themselves acclimated. His hopples were a little bit tight in that race. So they are going to open up the hopples a little bit going to the elimination. And they did actually order a new bike before the start last week. And unfortunately, it didn't come in time for that start, but it is going to be coming back. He will be racing with the new bike here. They got a training mile in him with the new bike. All systems are go. They think he'll be a bit closer. They love the draw that they start with. So they're confident in Highland Kismet. I'm very confident in Highland Kismet. And I think just throw that start away. I think that he'll bounce back and I think he's going to put forth a big effort on Saturday.
What trip does he get? That's what I want to know. Tell me the trip that gets.
I think even first over, he can look Carl in the eye. I think he's got that much go. You could look at the races even at Mohawk. It doesn't really matter how he's raced. He's shown that he's got he's got a lot left to offer. Again, I don't know what went wrong in that Stanley Dancer division last time out, but I think that he's just super talented. And if we're willing to, I guess Carl's got a greater body of work, but I think if we can forgive Carl, why not forgive Kismet? We have even more reason to forgive Kismet because of how green he is and how the fact that he never raced that too. So I'm all in on Kismet.
I want to say, you mentioned getting used to the track, and I think that is important. And Thomas could probably speak more to this than anyone else, but this track changes a lot. I mean, there are times where at the beginning of the night, it's one thing. At the end of the night, it's another thing. One week, it's one way. Next week, it's a different way. It changes a lot.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not going to say anything bad about Meadowlands. For me, it's the best track. But I know many of the trainers, especially Scandinavian, they've been like complaining a little on the surface of Meadowlands. It is like they have very how we're going to say rough surface. So it's sometimes very hard for the horses to come the first time in racing at Meadowlands. So, but I saw him first time when he first race he did up at Woodbine 2 after he come up from Florida Highland Kismet. He was like a big baby, like little scared of everything going behind the gate, stuff like that. So it's very good information John comes with there, because for me it looks also with the hobbles that was too tight, and you said he looks like a big boy, so he definitely need a big bike. So I'm not off his bandwagon, but for me, Carl, yeah.
More importantly, John, because Carl is Carl. You mentioned the body of work and all of that. What price in your mind are you getting on Highland Kismet inside of this race?
I honestly think you'll get, because of that performance last time, I think people will gravitate to Carl. I think that you'll probably get around 5-2 on Kismet.
And you think that's good?
Higher.
On Carl?
Higher, Bob. Higher, Bob.
Way higher.
Yeah, way
I
higher.
would bet every
5
dollar
to
I
1.
have
5
that
to 1.
this horse is higher.
John.
What price is Carl? Is he not going to be 3 to 5?
Maybe less.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think 6 are going to take more money than Kismet.
I don't know about that because of the post.
I think they'll be
I know
close.
take more money maybe, but not the.
I think they're both looking at like somewhere between the 9-2 and 6-1 range, Highland and 6 Hour.
That would be an underlay on the 8 though.
I feel like that would be an underlay on Kismet too. Inside.
What about situationship? You always have some fans there.
Yeah, he's going to take money. I personally think situationship's going to be on the lead. I think he's going right to the front. There's no doubt in my mind. By the time they get off that first turn, he's going to be in the lead.
Yeah,
I think it'd be interesting though if Kismet would show something in this race. It would set up for a huge final, and like John said about Carl's vulnerability. If there's more of that, that sets up for an even wilder final, I think.
Yeah, and I will say it is probably, I mean, Derick mentioned, I think it's good that he got a loss out of the way. I do think that, we were entering a point or a moment where they were pretty much handing the Hambletonian trophy to Carl, to Nancy, to Yannick, right? And I think, Yannick's had some bad luck in this race. This is a trophy that he really wants and has never won it. So I think that for him, he's got a horse that really has a great shot of winning this race. So I think that there's pressure building up for this race, knowing what's at stake and knowing that he wants his trophy so bad. So I think that he got the loss out of the way. I think it's a lot better. I think that he talked about the horse getting tired, that, they'll come back even stronger. So we'll see. I still have my concerns with Carl. That's just me, but I'm not in the barn every day. I don't sit behind the horse. So maybe I do have some concerns in terms of how he looks physically at times and how he moves at times, but there's no denying his talent. And they just went a little bit too quick, and that's one of the fastest that he had to be used early on, and it was a little bit taxing, and maybe that's what it was. But I do think there are other horses that can step up and go with him. I think that as the season progressed, we started to see that a little bit.
And I also, like, we discussed it a little off air, like if we go back to the Reynolds when he won on 151 and Yannick pulled the plugs on the finish line, he won and he looked strong, but Bright Star and French Chronos was close. So I understand, like, was that some weakness we already saw there?
Yeah. I mean, it could very well be. I'm not even. They seem to be, like, every connection has the reason or the right to be confident in their horse. Nobody ever seems worried. Nancy doesn't seem worried. Yannick doesn't seem overly concerned, and the same way Bobby and Mark don't seem concerned about Kismet. So
he has been protected this year, though, too. I mean, it's not like that he's, beating up on the best of the best.
Well, he stayed at the Meadowlands. He's taking the Meadowlands route, which is a very popular route. You can't race in races that they don't have.
Well, I mean, if we look at that loss too, at least when I was watching it, it felt similar to the only other loss that Carl had, which was against TCI at the Red Mile. Because I remember, the discussion too being what's going on with him, because the moment that he was confronted, he started getting like a little bumpy and just wasn't as smooth as he was when he was just by himself. So if anything, I feel like in his most recent loss, he was a bit more composed.
Yannick told me when I spoke to him, he felt that was the best his gait has been this year.
Okay.
In the Dancer. So
that's what, and you know what, and Nancy said that's the best. That's the best that she's felt like he's trotting the best that he's ever trotted. In a long time or in his career. So they seem confident. Doesn't look like they're going to tinker. From the conversation we had earlier today, it doesn't seem like she's going to be tinkering with any equipment. She's confident with the way the horse is going to the elimination. And great horses get beat, like Yannick said. And I think that was probably the case. I like I said, I still have some concerns, but he's going to be favored. So why not try and take a shot against a horse who could be susceptible to getting beat? And there's some other good horses that we shouldn't discount as well.
I mean, I don't know, John. You sound way too excited to take 5-2 against Carl inside of this race.
Right, just see on the picture behind me.
Yeah, you don't just accidentally show up in the Hambletonian. Although I can, if anyone needs, I've never driven a race. I could probably get my license in a week, and I'll be out on the track if anybody needs me. I can accidentally show up if we want that to happen.
I have my license and my colors. I can come down if someone needs me to drive in the Hamble.
There you go.
I see in some amateur races from
TT on.
So it is easy to get the license.
Basically, that first elimination, it truly is Carl versus the world. But it's also Carl's pretty much been the whole world for at least the last since he was born. The second elimination, definitely, I think a bit more interesting because it has a lot more questions to it than just Carl. The second elimination is TCI with a bunch of others, but TCI similarly is getting a little bit bumpy in terms of he hasn't won in spots where it looks like he's supposed to win. He's been racing well. He's been getting good checks, but He's lost in both of his most recent starts, broke stride in the Zweig. Sammy Up Richard thinks the TCI is going to win it all. By the way, what's up, Richard? TCI gets the pylon post this time around against others inside of this race. Are we of the thought that he really is? I feel he's beatable inside of this race, first and foremost. Are we all in agreement on that inside of this spot?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is where it becomes more interesting, because when I was making my fair odds line, which is going to be up on horseраcingnation.com in the coming days, my initial line was at 130 points because I basically had so many horses that could probably get involved here. So let's start with you, Derick. I feel that despite TCI having 9 competitors, each one of them, under the right circumstances, with the right trip, can do well inside of this race.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I wouldn't be shocked by almost any of these horses winning this elimination. I'm not saying I like them all equally, but there's a lot of them that, given the right circumstances, they could win. I mean, for my money, I think that Secret Agent Man is the horse to beat. I think he's going to be the favorite in this spot, but I'm not picking him as my top pick. So
you think
wait,
over
you
TCI?
think Secret Agent Man?
He won't be.
Well, then the public is making a mistake.
Well, this horse has never been the favorite, and TCI has been the favorite basically every start he's ever had.
Yeah,
so,
but this horse has won 2 in a row, and before those starts, he didn't win 2 in a row. But now he has won 2 in a row. So you can't just say he wasn't the favorite before, so he can't be the favorite now.
Well, no, but I mean, TCI has 13 wins and 17 starts and made $1 million. The 3's made $55,000, and you're telling me that the 3's going to be favored over the 1 in this race? I think you're
what have
insane.
you done for
And
me
TCI
lately?
was
chance.
gaining.
No
What
chance.
have you done for me lately?
0.
I agree
Zero
with
chance.
I agree with Mike 100%.
I mean, TCI, listen, if he's the favorite, so be it. I won't play TCI as the favorite.
Not me either.
No chance. I mean, he could win the race. I'm not saying he can't win. I just saying he's not a worthwhile favorite. I think Secret Agent Man is the horse to beat in my mind from what I've seen on the track recently. Could he break? Yeah, he could break. But I think if they all trot to their, as good as they can trot, he's shown me the most recently. I didn't pick him though.
I mean, I know he has that flashy mile 2 starts ago where he went 50 and change. And of course, if he's able to do that, then maybe theoretically, yeah, he's the one to beat. But I don't. How are you excited off of that Tompkins race where he just had the perfect setup, really didn't have to do much work, didn't really show a lot? Are you just a believer that 1 speed badge he had against Weaker that's who he is, and he should be able to uncork that inside of this spot?
The speed badge that he had 2 weeks ago shows me he's fast enough to win a Hambletonian. The race last time shows me that he could stay flat in 2 consecutive races and get the job done and be composed and look like a professional. So to me, I take 2 different things out of both of those efforts, and I don't downgrade him because he didn't go 50 again. You don't need to win every race in 150. It was the perfect prep for what's to come, which is the Hambletonian.
I'm not discounting him as a contender inside of this race, but this is similar to John wanting to go bet Kismet at 5-2. I don't know how you'd want to take Secret Agent Man as a short price inside. I'm only saying that, Derick, because you think that he's going to be the favorite.
Well, I think he should be the favorite. If he's not going to be I understand everyone loves to bet TCI, but I wouldn't be surprised if Secret Agent Man is very close to TCI in the betting. I mean, TCI, how much of a favorite could he really be? 2-1 at most? So it's going to be close. It's not like, Secret Agent Man is going to be 4-1 and TCI is going to be even money. TCI might be a 2-1 favorite and Secret Agent Man could be 5-2. I'm just saying it's a lot closer, I think, than everyone's giving it credit for. But all that said, I really like Private Access in this race. I have no idea what his morning line is. Wait, I'm going to look.
He's 5-1.
5-1, I see. I like everything about this horse. I love any Luke Blaze horse that comes here because he always brings them ready. I really like the effort in the Zweig. I mean, he just blew him away, and I'm pretty sure his Zweig final time, 52-1, was faster than the other division went. Than the main division. He was in the consolation race, and the main division went. I think it was Game Good Time won 52-3. So he actually went faster than the main division went. To me, this horse is coming into this race really nicely. Won a nice qualifier. It's the same qualifier that Drawn Impression came out of. Where Drawn Impression followed him the whole way. I think Blaze will have him ready. I think this horse that is potentially could be forwardly placed, and I'd always rather be near the lead than coming from last. And I think the price will be reasonable. I think 5-1. If I can get somewhere between 7-2 and 6-1, I'd be thrilled. And I really think this horse is going to show up in a big way.
You're making me so curious about what your fair odds line for this race looks like. Because I mean, I don't know, Thomas. I feel like Thomas, while Secret Agent Man and Private Access, they're both coming into this race all right. This still just looks like this looks primed for some kind of upset or some kind of surprise, because even a lot of these horses on the outside are pretty good. We were talking about Bright Star. I'm kind of a fan of Wild Ticket as well. I don't think he's as bad as his odds have been in his last few races. This is a pretty good group for a second elimination.
It's like we talked about when we started this race. I wouldn't be shocked if it comes in a 20-1 shot there. It's very wide open, this race here. TCI going to be the favorite when the gate leaves. Do I going to bet him? No. Can he win the elimination? Yes. He's too grabby. That's why it's been hard for David to try to drive him on from a helmet. Like when he made a break on Swag there, and he come up to the field and he tried to race him from a helmet, because if David did that on purpose to get him into the race, he should be fired on TCI. But he was too grabby, and after that, I think that was just 6 days after the Reynolds, and then he gets back to the Dancer. It's not been a perfect setup for the Hambletonian for TCI. If he wins, he's going to beat me. Amazing Catch, just a horse that's entered to the Hambo. 3 Secret Agent Man. Yeah, I texted John when I saw him warming up at Meadowlands 6th of July. He is crippled. If there was a veterinarian seeing him warm up, he will be scratched. Then he comes out and he win on 50.
Yeah.
He get 2 weeks off. He looked crippled again. Win, got a perfect setup. Now he's back to back to back. Now he's gonna go back the week after that race. Do I gonna bet Secret Agent Man? Never. If he comes to the final, I definitely don't gonna bet him. He paid for himself to enter to the Hambo. Andy Miller is a so good driver. He's the only guy who managed to stay flat with him. Marcel, was good when he won against older horses. Private Access, I should have him on my Hambo list when I made it. But like Highland Kismet made Private Access look like a regular trotter when they met up in Canada. But I like Private Access. I like all of that pedigree after open access. So, and like Luke Blair, when he comes down, you have them ready. He can win this race. We enter Life on the Bluff owners. He finished good. He's okay. Can he qualify to the final? Yeah, he can. He don't going to win. Damn Good Time is maybe the horse I think is my betting favorite going in and on my ticket. I think Scotty going to be a little aggressive from the 7-hole, and we know the money man, and we know Travis Alexander have the horses sharp. Damn Good Time is for me the horse that I'm going to have on my ticket. Bright Star would be a good horse to own. He always do his best. Does he going to win the Hambo? No. Can he go to the final? Yes. Wild Ticket, yeah. I was sure he was the best 3-year-old to Melandro coming in this year, but Security Protected have changed that. Was he okay last time with no shoes, pull down bridle, air plugs? Yes. Did he have any more like saved on the finish line? When Situationship walked the last 116, yes, he looked like he had something left. But go in and see the beginning of the home stretch. Dexter was driving on him. He raced good. Do I think he's going to win the elimination? No. Can he go to the final? Yes. My horse that I think can win the Hambletonian if Carl is not Carl was Takiri Hanover, and then he pulls the 10-hole. So, but I love this horse. I think this is the best 3-year-old Aki have. I think he's better than Tony Adams, who is not entered to the Hambo. But from the 10-hole, I don't know what to expect, but he's going to definitely be on my ticket. So what can I say with my case here? I definitely going to be on 7 Damn Good Time. Takiri Hanover, Private Access is the 3 horses I'm going to have on my ticket.
This is definitely sounding like a race, Mike, where finally, if you pitch a 50-1 shot, no one will laugh at you.
That's true. I don't know. Damn good times 3-1 morning line. I think it'll be a little more though. I think that some others will take money in the race. Be probably 4-1 ish in the race. And I think he might be the best. If you look back to that Vernon race, look 51-1, and that was in a driving rainstorm up on May 27th, and then ended up breaking the race after that. One favored there, but the Zweig, that I thought from the 9 post, that was a huge mile, and then you got stuck in the duel with Carl there last time in the Dancer. So really, I would pitch that race out. This horse is much better from just a little bit off of it, I think. And when this one has a target, and you got Zeron, he made all the right moves last year. So, I'm of course, he's my favorite. I think he's going to have a perfect trip in this race. I like him better than some of the others. I really don't trust TCI. I think he's the classiest of all these, and there's no doubt about that. But him at 3 isn't quite the same, but we'll see. I mean, maybe they've just been sort of playing around into leading up to this race. And then I agree with Thomas on the 10. I do think that one is going to be forward again, and forward in elimination races is a very good place to be, especially when top 5 make the final. 10-1 morning line, I don't think that you'll see that. I think will be less just because of the connections and a lot of ones on the page. I think I agree with Thomas a lot in the race. 7-10 are going to be very prominent on my tickets.
John, one of the things that we were kind of talking about with TCI is that he does seem a little grabby, and that's why he's been always having to go forward. But that said, also with that break in the Zweig now in the rear window, what do you take then about that most recent effort where he was able to sit back? Granted, he was a little even when trying to pick up his speed, but he was coming after situationship late. Do you think that potentially a race like that could be a saving grace argument that maybe, just maybe, he could probably beat this group from the inside post at a short price?
Oh, he could beat this group he's shown, but I just think he's trending in the wrong direction. He's just not a horse that I want any part of whatsoever. Ronnie is a straight shooter. He came out and, he obviously wasn't happy with the efforts. He started talking about how they noticed a couple things and they're going to maybe be a bit more diligent and start monitoring things a little bit more closely because he's regressing a little bit from his 2-year-old campaign. Just a horse I want no part of. I wanted to see more from that effort, but I didn't like him in that in that race last time out anyway. So he's likely going to be the race favorite. I'll gladly play against him again. I'm in agreement with Mike. I think that I'm going to go to Dame Good Time. I think that draws fine in this race, right? We know he can lead from the outside. He seems to be trotting. I spoke with Scott Zeron. He doesn't even know if it's the trotting hop really making a difference. He just seems to think that he doesn't know what it is, but it's helped him clearly. He's a horse who is pretty handy, and I think that he could work out a pretty good trip. But I don't think we should be harsh on Secret Agent, man. I think that he's been super. We've seen the versatility from him, and I think 2 weeks ago he showed that he's a legitimate I think he's one to really make note of leading up to the Hambo.
And there he goes. He wanted that to be his grand exit, I guess. I would have left on a much more stronger opinion. Something like, I think TCI doesn't even make the final. But no, he's probably going to make the final.
You hit the keyboard so hard that you got knocked out.
You disappeared.
Yeah, almost by design. But I stay of the case that this is a welcome back, John. We're glad that you didn't make that your.
Listen, I'm like Adam Schefter here. Okay, the phones just keep
John,
calling.
if you could please.
Wait. We don't have to say. Don't lie though. Does the phone not ring a lot, Ray?
No, it does ring a lot. But if you're going to make a reference, please make it someone we all know.
It's probably Loan Sharks though.
Wait. Adam Schefter. You don't know? You're not a football guy, really? I thought you guys are from the States. I thought that's your favorite pastime.
John, I watch Criterion Channel. I have no idea what Adam Scheffler is.
Well, Schefter, wow, you got. I don't even know.
I thought he was the golf guy that jumped the cop.
You guys just lost your credibility as Americans.
So I say,
fine, take it
for both.
I know who he is.
Don't we did last night.
Ray,
set that up.
So, okay, we're gonna set up a meeting with Adam Scheffler. I guess. My thing with this race is ultimately, it does set itself up to be probably the most likely elimination to see a good payoff. we've mentioned Dame Good Time, who's probably going to take a lot of money, is a logical one inside of this race. If Secret Agent Man is 5-2, you can beat me for all I care. I don't want a horse like him at that price. TCI, we're all of the consensus that, and what makes me wonder is that we're all of the consensus that he's beatable. So then does that somehow throw his whole resume out the window in the win pool? Does maybe he somehow not go favorite inside of this race? That's an interesting thought to keep in mind when you're trying to map multis and stuff like that. He's a logical one to take money because he's TCI. I still don't know what TCI even means, but
Turks and Caicos.
Yeah, Turks, Caicos Islands.
I have something fast I need to say.
Okay, please say.
Aki was in the lead on Yonkers, and he walked 30 and 4 the second quarter.
Okay, so that probably means Daiquiri Hanover is going to win in the second elimination, or Warwi Michelle might be able to rate the mile.
Nobody wants to pull when Aki's in the front.
True.
Mind games go so far.
He was driving the heavy favorite in that race.
Yeah, but it was like walking. No, he's almost sleeping, but he's gonna win. Yeah.
He already won. The race is over. You're on the
I'm a little behind with RTN on the TV. It's like 10 seconds behind the computer.
So, I mean, we talked about all the logical ones. I'll say, of prices, I don't mind Bright Star. I feel like despite the draw, he should be able to probably get into the race. He has the speed to get into position. And again, if he's going to be close to like a double-digit price, absolutely use a horse like him. Wild Ticket, I think, is one to make the ticket wild just because he's probably not going to take any money, but he's handy enough and quick enough to maybe hit some of the underparts if you want to try and hit a good super or a good try inside of this elimination. And once again, the thing to remember with trying to map how the race is going to unfold, I mean, Secret Agent Man's a possible speed, but he has his gate issues. TCI, if anything, he's going to want to do a quarter move. How hard does I in both eliminations? Because honestly, that makes both elims much harder to figure out because you know what he's going to do. You know that he's capable of clearing from all the way out there. And a horse like that, with that much speed and momentum building in the early stages, that changes a lot of guys' decisions. That makes people decide to take back or maybe leave a little extra hard. And that could cause some surprises inside of these eliminations. So any other final thoughts from anyone on this second Hambletonian elimination before we wrap? Really, nothing. You guys have said your piece. That's amazing that you've all said your piece.
We've been here a while.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, no. The time is an eternal thing that is everlasting and ongoing, but yet finite for so many. And so, fine. We'll wrap it here for this roundtable discussion. Of course, we have so many people to thank, including all of our panelists here. All of you watching, thank you for watching on this discussion. Hopefully, we were able to get your brain springing and electrifying, thinking about these eliminations, giving you some ideas on maybe how to approach the bets, maybe thoughts on horses you might have already liked, expounding on that type of stuff. But we could not get there without the bright minds, including we'll start with Mr. Thomas Svensen. Thank you, Thomas, for joining us here on this show.
Just a pleasure to be here. I can talk horses and betting 24/7,
All right. And then, of course, our co-producer, Mr. Mike Pribozie.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. Don't forget Adios on Saturday, and then switch over to Meadowlands for the Hambo eliminations. Harness Players newsletter hits on Friday mornings, so check that out. A lot of podcasts this week. Edison did a Mohawk podcast. We have the Meadows Adios Roundtable. So lots of information out there. Try to consume some of that and support us. Like us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. And, you'll keep getting more of this. And thanks to the Hambletonian Society, too, for sponsoring.
And newsletter man himself, also Mr. Derick Giwner, taking time away from his InDesign.
Yeah, that InDesign file is something else, let me tell you. But thankfully, the newsletter's out already, so don't have to worry about it. You can check it out, DRF Harness, drf.com/harness. And we have, think about Saturday, 11:45 a.m., the Adios card starts, and the Meadowlands race is probably going to go off around midnight. So you have a little bit more than 12 hours of really strong harness racing action nonstop. And we have full card analysis by Mike Pribozie for the Meadows, and we have full card analysis for the Meadowlands by me. for Saturday. DRF Harness, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, X, whatever you want to do, check it out. Some good stuff. And enjoy the racing Saturday. It should be a really good day.
And in case you didn't like any of our panelists, we also included John Rallis here on the show.
Yeah, it's like you could just hear my thoughts or read my thoughts. Play Meadowlands.com. I've got race reviews up there since inherited the morning line duties and the race reviews. It's a tedious task. I get a lot more text messages about morning lines than anything else, but always fun to debate. But I'm just glad I nailed that Meadowlands pace, or for the most part, at least with some horses. But it's been a lot of fun working at the Meadowlands throughout the last few months. Met a lot of great people there who I could call good friends. Got a chance to meet Thomas Svensen as well over at the races a couple of times. So just been really fun. Sucks I can't be there this weekend because I do go to print for my regular job, Trot Magazine associate editor there. So fortunately that put a dampen in my plans to be there for the eliminations, but I will be there working my first Hambletonian next weekend. Looking forward to it. And hopefully I see all of you guys there, but it's going to be a great day.
I will be on Trotters on Saturday, so just come and discuss betting and horses with me.
There you go.
We'll see you there.
And of course, don't forget, these are just the eliminations. The real discussion, well, this was a real discussion, but the final taking place next week, we'll have another roundtable discussion for not only the Hambletonian final and the Hambletonian Oaks final, but all the other stakes action taking place at the Meadowlands racetrack for the marquee day in the sport of harness racing, Hambletonian Day. It's like they say, it all comes down to that's the Breeders' Crown. It's like they say, you can't go wrong with the Hambletonian. That's too weak of it has some kind of slogan, but we'll have a roundtable for that next week here on In the Money Media. And before we really wrap, let's get a quick fire thing. We have the eliminations, of course, that we talked about. Let's go one by one. Everyone share what they are most excited for from the eliminations. Maybe they're the horse that you like the best of the eliminations, best bet, price play, any kind of thought you'd like to share ahead of these eliminations taking place at the Meadowlands on Saturday, July 27th. Mike, let's start with you. What are you most excited about for Saturday?
I'm excited about that first elimination for the Hambletonian. I'm curious to see how Carl rebounds. I'm hoping Sig Sauer improves off his latest to set up a big final. So that would be my most exciting moment for Saturday.
Derick, what are you most excited for?
I just want to see two really good, strong eliminations develop in the Hambletonian. I want to see Carl go out and put in a good performance, but I want to see someone in the other elim step up too, so we have the idea of a really good race coming the following week. Not that we think that one horse is just going to dominate. And best bet, we'll give you Soiree Hanover. Love Soiree.
Ooh, that's good. I like when the race looks interesting, but there's sometimes when it doesn't look interesting that it becomes the most interesting. I guess that would be my thought, is that even if the elims are uneventful, the final will still be exciting. That's my thing. Thomas, what are you most excited for on Saturday?
See Carl. You just see the picture behind me with Jimmy William Tactor. Carl back as a winner. I hope Derick is right on Soiree Hanover, so we can get some good positive vibes before the Oaks final from the barn. I'm looking forward just to see the best horses, like the best 3-year-old coming to the track and compete.
Wait, Jimmy's middle name is William? Is
Jimmy William Tactor.
I didn't know. John, besides finding that out, what are you most excited for on Saturday?
I'm with Mike. I don't want to be repetitive, but again, just seeing a top-notch elimination. You see, obviously, we wanted to see Carl take on maybe the likes of TCI or Highland Kismet just to kind of get a taste of trotters that are on the who many consider to be main contenders. But I'm just excited for that elimination to see how both of those horses who enter this week with question marks. Let's see if those can be answered. And as a price play, I'm going to give you I like Sweet Gal a little bit in her Tompkins Gears division there. I thought that was a pretty good effort from Post 10. She's got gate speed, and I think she'll be forgotten about. Brett Pelling trainee, who's got 2 entered to go in that race. So I like Sweet Gal as a little bit of a value player in that Tompkins Gear race.
Well, John, we already knew you were with Mike. You have the same background. I know he's just to your left. You just have to kind of walk over, and then you can say hi, hello, touch his shoulder, and then hug each other. But that does it for this discussion. Again, a reminder, next week we have another roundtable for the Hambletonian finals and a breakdown of the entire stakes card at the Meadowlands. Myself will be there. Mike's self will be there. Edison's self will be there. We'll be joined by Jessica Otten from the Meadowlands racetrack, the place that this is happening at, as well as Cheyenne Chrisman with the USTA, and Garnett Barnsdale from God knows absolutely everything. He's been
DRF harness.
Well, I mean, that too, but like Derick already does. The DRF harness has gotten enough plugs for the night, if I'm being honest. That does it for not just my temper, but tonight's discussion. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. Hopefully it was entertaining, insightful, knowledgeable, digestible, not inflaming in any way. And
say good night, Ray.
I'm getting there. Just
Google Adam Schefter while you're at it.
That's it. Have a good night. It's done. That's it.